shit, I left a really good paying job. I don't know if I want to go back in that industry. Doesn't seem like this is going to work. So all that time and money invested, probably from a financial standpoint, was a waste. Like, now what am I going to do? I moved to Toronto. As you know, it's fucking expensive to live here. I want to start with the feature fuck up for me, which is also known as the 86 million person fuck up. And just to set some context and a little bit of background on this number, this was end of October 2019, so super fresh, so be very kind. Don't throw any salt on the wounds just yet. I was sitting by myself at a co-working space. Our team was spread out around the world. And I was staring at this Apple dashboard, which any app developers in the room, people that worked on apps, it's the famous iTunes Connect from Apple. And they show all your fantastic stats. And this one was the one that was really calling my attention because it was the number of people or eyeballs or App Store impressions we had reached in just over 1 year. Without any paid media, any type of advertising. This was all organic and through content strategies and whatnot. It was through Apple features in about 150 countries, apps of the day, new apps we love, start a digital journal, we were on the top of the list. And my next step was this, delete from App Store. And I'll never forget the emotions there. Again, staring at my laptop by myself, thinking, how could I fail at such a colossal level? What would my family think? What would my friends think? What would the colleagues that I left 3 years ago to start this venture think, right? Our advisors, our investors, all the brand collaborators that we had on the system, what would they think? And then, I sat in that for a little bit. And then all the mental fitness training that I had been acquiring throughout those years and the years before really started to kick in, and it all made sense. So let's rewind the tape a little bit. How the hell did I get to that moment? So about 3.5, almost 4 years ago, I was working a great job, benefits. I was a product manager, traveling around the world, experiencing new things, new people, super happy. Family was good. I was living in Montreal. We were in a super cool neighborhood. Felt really fun. And there was this other part of the life that was, just exciting because there was always this idea in the back of my mind for this business or this idea. Because, I was going to that job for about 8 years. I was always getting up early in the morning and spending time trying to fuel my mind with positive things and doing practices like journaling and meditation and stuff. Meditation, that wasn't really that hip at that time, but things like that. And there was always a frustration because I'd listen to podcasts or I'd read books and the authors would always be dropping these really powerful, reflective questions that they're asking themselves throughout their life journey. And I'd write them down and then I'd copy them and paste them into another app. And I'm like, this is so backwards. Like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I crafted the email, shot an email to my brother-in-law, who was the closest person I knew to any type of tech experience. Mind you, he was building websites and was running servers with his IT company. So no app development, a bit of a red flag there. But regardless, we started working on it, and this was Kyō. Kyō's the Japanese word for today, so we're trying to help people focus on really reflecting that day and do everything possible to keep their mind in the best state of mind. And the app, that's a whole other conversation or presentation from that email to that picture and in the App Store, but we'll save that for another day. But we got it out, and we had a huge vision. I mean, if you look, this is a mock press release dated 2024 that I had put together to pitch investors and show that we had a really big vision for this. It wasn't just an app. It was a mental fitness platform that we wanted to be the go-to place where people would land. If they needed any type of products or services in this space, that we'd match them up with the right thing based on really good predictive tech and all of that fun jazz. So it was super fun. And then we started getting features in magazines. We started doing cool collaborations with people like Unsplash, actual clinics here at, that's actually a functioning clinic right now at One York, and then a ton of brand collaborations, VaynerMedia, TED, Lego. whether they were involved in the app, where I had interviewed like VaynerMedia, for example, their chief strategy officer, their chief heart officer, really cool things. Like the vibe was awesome. Except that was the outside vibe. When it came to the business and the actual financials of the company, our team could actually fit in the size of that tent, and it felt like we were just about to be blown off the fucking tundra at any moment. I actually think we were levitating a bit in the tent and just like, is this gonna go or are we gonna drop? And thankfully it dropped most times until, we got to the family meeting. And what happened here, like I said, I sent an email to my brother-in-law, and we were in my living room. He was there, my wife was there, her sister was there, my 3-year-old was sleeping upstairs, and we started what turned out to be a 4-hour discussion to really talk like cold, hard truth. Financially, we were already 100 grand plus into this. We had some private investors that we were considering bringing on board, but very, I don't want to say questionable, but uncertain terms. So the questions were, do we want to sink farther into this debt? And I think even more importantly, farther into the mental debt that this was causing, without really seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, we had a very strong product roadmap. We had just finished user research that was super promising. But at the same time, we didn't want to be naive to the fact that we were probably about 12 months out of iterating the product before actually seeing, a break-even point. At this point, we were covering our Amazon servers. That's it. 87 million people, brands all around the world covering our Amazon servers. That's it. So that meeting finished, and I felt like this for about a week, nonstop, oscillating from all those highs and lows, because it was the first time that hype and all that optimistic stuff that was going on, like all the people I was getting to talk to, actually disconnected from the actual reality of, shit, I left a really good paying job. I don't know if I want to go back in that industry. Doesn't seem like this is going to work. So all that time and money invested, probably from a financial standpoint, was a waste. Like, now what am I going to do? I moved to Toronto. As you know, it's fucking expensive to live here. So what do I do, right? And, I felt like I was underwater for a while. And it really wasn't until, ironically, the very practice of journaling, which was the idea which got me into this situation, that's actually what pulled me out and allowed the sparkler to come out of the water. Because it was really the point where I started to really think about, well, all the people I'm interviewing, they're all giving me the examples, they're all giving me the practices of what they do to keep their mind at the very top level. So how can I do that? Because right now I'm operating in a state of survival. And you don't make good decisions when you're in fear, when you're anxious, when you're spiraling out of control, which is where our business was for a long time. So we were making really questionable decisions. And now personally, I was really into that. So as soon as I started journaling every day, as soon as I started making my mind the full-time job of the day, things started to look up. And I started getting to the point where I was moving out of why questions, which is why me, why is this happening, and into what questions, like what caused this? What can I do differently so that I don't do this again? And here are the findings. The hype. The hype is awesome. There's a bit of a theme there with the hype tonight. It's great for marketing and PR and to land podcast guests and land brand collaborations, but it's not good when the hype is linked to the actual business, because those are two very separate things. And both speakers talked about that tonight. So disconnecting those two, which leads into the financials, just like your personal finances. If you don't know, what your rent is and all your expenses at really any given point, eventually that's going to catch up to you. And we were doing everything possible to keep that tent on the ground. So we were in survival mode, shifting money around from other companies that my brother-in-law was running to stay afloat. Personal money was going in, all of this stuff. So we're just doing anything to survive. But what that ends up equaling is a messy financial situation and not a real picture of what's actually happening. And then lastly, I think just being honest with yourself. That family meeting was tough because it wasn't just the last 3 years of my identity wrapped up. That we had about, at that time, 200,000 users relying on the app and talking about personal journal things, right? And their own mental health. And we're letting those people down, in my opinion. So it was a really hard question of, do I really want to continue in this state? Can I? Or is there another way to help people around the world? And the answer for me was not to continue. And same with the rest of our team. So we decided to shut it down. Lastly, the most important and by far the most valuable thing I can leave tonight is, ironically, I speak a lot about mental fitness and mental health, and it wasn't until going through this process of really realizing that my mind had to be everything. Just like, we all flown on airplanes, you have to put your oxygen mask on first before helping others, right? So the question that I want to leave with everyone, and the question that really pulled me out of the water, and frankly, probably why I can stand up here and share the story and not completely break down, was, what will I do today for my fitness and health of my mind? And there were 180,000 questions in our app at one point, and hundreds of questions from the speakers and podcast guests. But that is by far the most important thing I can leave tonight, because when you can get to a point where your mind is actually working for you, then it doesn't matter what the situation is, doesn't matter what life throws at you. You have the tools and you have the mental capacity to get through anything and really come out on the other side stronger. So thank you.
Have you ever failed in a project, career, or business? Whether you have or not, you can become a Fuck Up Nights organizer in your city, company, or university. Learn how at fuckupnights.com. Join the movement. Fuck up the system.